I am in a physical pool where they're like, I see the other people that are in my pool because we're all in the same like club, if you will. And there's one smug motherfucker who just wants to see me lose, and he picked the Bills. And I know, like, I'm going to physically avoid that place for the next 2 weeks just so I don't have to run into him. It's that bad. Okay, welcome in. It is another edition of Putting for Dough. That's Ben Rasa. I'm Eytan Shander. Chris is producing, and you are here, of course, on the OddsShopper channel. We know you're here because we're the fastest growing sports betting community across the entire YouTube platform. And we appreciate you being out there as swing season moves on. And we have the ZoZo to look forward to out in Japan. Before that, though, Ben, as always, we welcome you in. We welcome everybody else. Remind them, hit the thumbs up button to subscribe here. Everybody's doing it, subscribing to the OddsShopper channel. So you out there, you don't want to be left behind. What are you thinking, my friend? We're still not quite there yet. We had Patrick Cantlay last week. We have a couple of more names, bigger names here in the field. We're not quite there yet, though.
No, we're not quite there yet. Tom Kim has taken over the golf universe. That's where we are at. No doubt about that. I mean, again, it's swing season. I'm going to keep repeating these same mantras. And we even saw it at Shriners. Don't overreact. We saw some guys that played terrible at Sanderson Farms play great at Shriners. We saw some names that were peppering our card. I was actually really happy with the tournament. I was not on Tom Kim. That really killed me in DFS. And even for outrights, not getting there. But like Maverick hit the top 10 on the board. He looked really good. Martin Laird cashed your top 40. Rio made the cut. That gets me nothing. I just wanted to mention it. But what did you make of it? I was pretty content with what we saw at Summerlin.
Yeah, I think it was pretty much as we expected, right? And we kind of drew this out. McNeely was a big one for you, Laird for me, and it was familiarity. It was also just playing well. And I think there weren't many surprises at Sanderson Farms from how we looked at it to how it played out. I don't necessarily know if that's going to be the case. Now, we always try and build a winning card, winning tickets and all, and I'm not saying that from us. I'm just saying like the general approach to the ZoZo might be a little different here. But I feel like early in swing season with events like at Sanderson, it's a little easier to kind of set parameters, right? To like what you should expect from a course and really an event like that. And Patrick Cantlay right there. You mentioned Tom at the top, but you know, some familiar names or a big name like that. I don't know if that's going to be the case at the ZoZo, but no surprises. I was generally okay with what we got out of Sanderson for sure.
Yeah, again, Sanderson, Shriners,
sorry.
Oh, no. Yeah, I was just all of these type of events. You're going to see, you know, a lot of guys that really like to take advantage, and then you're going to see big names come in to get some reps. You're going to see big names here because it's a non-cut and it's in a, you know, going to Japan. I saw something this morning. I believe it's 10 of the 12 from the international squad for the President's Cup are here. You got a couple of the Americans as well. So this is a stronger, I'm not going to say it's a WGC level, but it does mirror that with only 78 golfers in the field.
Yeah, and a big thing to look at on top of the guys, your boy Corey Connors in the house, right? So there's some President Cup survivors moving forward here, but you mentioned the cut less event, right?
Yes.
So we'll dive into that, but let's just tell everybody about what's going on here because we have a couple of different things to remind people about. First and foremost is below the link to get you on over to DraftKings. You'll see Chris use our plays. We'll constantly be referencing what's happening over on DraftKings. So a real simple, easy way to turn $5 into $200 is to sign up with that link below. It's going to take you on over to DK. Place that $5. Your first bet after depositing at least $5. You can put whatever you want in there. At least $5. Your first wager is going to be a $5 bet on any pregame money line. Now, if that wins, it's going to be $200. So, for example, I was doing this earlier with our NFL content, Ben. If you wanted to, or even the NBA content, if you wanted to put that $5 Monday night on, let's say, the Chiefs, minus 375 favorite. If you normally put a $5 bet on that, you're winning $1.44. In this case, if the Chiefs at minus 375 win, that's $200 in your account.
That is the exact way to think of it. If you want to, if you say, you know what, I want to take a shot. I like the Chiefs. I'm going to put my money there. $200 could be coming back. You get it for the whole week. If you say, you know what, I love this promo, but I want to maximize the chance that I'm going to get $200, I'm telling you, just wait for college football. You have teams that are 30-point favorites that are simply not going to lose. You can take that money line and basically lock in your $200. We did it last week, with numerous teams that are 30-point favorites. So you're going to get that $200 over at DraftKings just by taking one of those pregame money lines and having that team win.
All right. Amazing opportunity. We'll tell you some more about what's going on here on the OddsShopper channel, including our premium insider access. In fact, we had an infiltration on Eric Lindquist's channel that we have to bring to light. Yeah. Oh yeah. It was fantastic to see. So let's look at the ZoZo. It's a little different here, right? People are going to be looking at this course thinking, what the hell's going on? Am I seeing double? There are two different greens on each hole. We have a couple of par threes, some par fives that are 600 plus. The par fours are long, which means that not only do you have to be long, right, Ben, off the tee here, but you kind of have to be accurate because you can't just close your eyes, swing as hard as you can. The ball goes straight for 350 in the air. So a couple of different things to look at. Me personally, and I'm curious to see how you look at this. This is one of the few, I think, events where you may not have to put as much emphasis on the flat stick, for example. So this is the ZoZo. It's bizarre. It's crazy. It's fun. It's different to bet on for sure. What are your initial thoughts on the championship?
So my initial thoughts, let's just get this out there for people that, are digging in. In 2020, this was the COVID year. It wasn't in Japan. So keep that in mind if you're looking at like, oh, how have people done at the ZoZo? 2019, 2020, last year, absolutely, was at this course, a par 70. It looks pretty tough. I mean, not long in the sense that, yeah, it's long and it's pretty hard to hit these fairways. And even if you miss them, it's not like you're chipping out sideways, but you're not seeing guys, it's a race to 25 under. Like we've seen 15 under, we've seen certainly if you put up double digit under par, you're probably hitting the first page of the leaderboard here. And that's pretty interesting for, a 78-man field that's a guaranteed non-cut. So when I look at this, I'm with you. It's anytime you see Hideki at the top of a board, you know that irons are going to play a role, and particularly long irons. And we did see him, win in his homeland, which is pretty cool. And he's here again. I'm not doing anything too crazy. You want to gain it on the approach. You want to have that ball striking. If you can roll it on bent grass, that's just a bonus.
I think you mentioned ball striking there at the end, and why not start at the top, right? The best ever in Tiger Woods. How many times did he pull his driver out here in 2019, right? So we've seen guys who are exceptional strikers of the ball with their irons pull the driver out to still gain distance off the tee. And if you're thinking, well, what does that mean? My point being to you and others, Ben, would be simply that if I know I can hit my 3 or my 4 significantly better than the field and drive the ball off the fairway with the 3 or 4, right, to a significantly farther distance, then I don't necessarily need to hit, especially if I need to shape my tee shot. I don't need to hit my driver and risk going in the rough. As you mentioned, you can get away with that. And still, we've seen guys at the top, significantly better ball strikers, use their driver here at this course. And you mentioned what happened in 2020, 2021, we had a lot of weather, right? A lot of rain. So that shortened the course a little bit. This is a long, difficult course by all means, where I think just getting that, like the better you can put yourself in a position getting to the green, the better you are to score here.
Yeah. And, like I said, with golf, some things carry over no matter where you are. Like if you're hitting your approaches closer and in the fairway, that's just good. Always. There's degrees of bad if you're missing the fairways. I don't think this is, US Open conditions, but it's not just, blindly spray and you'll be fine. So I think it's somewhere in the middle. I am interested to see how aggressive guys are going to be off the tee. I think you can certainly get away with some things here. There's no doubt about it. But overall, it's a pretty fair test and one that doesn't really eliminate, any skill set. It's not like you have to be long off the tee to win here. That's not the case.
The one thing real quick before we get to the top tier, and we don't have a ton here, so we're going to get through these and also look at the 40, 20, 10 from just a cut list experience here. Do you agree, though, that of all the different metrics you can rely on here, I feel like this is one of the few events, Ben, where putting is pretty much dead last for me. Like, I didn't even factor putting in so much as we normally would and give it an edge for a guy. I think scrambling, approach shots you mentioned, long irons, accuracy off the tee, all these things I think can help you. Putting is putting. I understand that there's variance to it, but here I don't think it helps you as much.
I mean, it's a hard thing to kind of articulate because at the end of the day, you basically have to putt. You have to putt. There's no way to win in golf if you can't make it into the hole. But that doesn't mean that we need to incorporate it into how we go about building our cards, in the sense that you kind of hope it takes care of itself in some degrees and you don't see a drastic spread where it defines the tournament. But there's no doubt, I think we were both in agreement, if someone catches crazy fire with the putter, that goes a long way no matter where you're playing. That's a huge attribute. It's just almost impossible to quantify or predict who that will be because it's putting.
All right, let's look at the top tier here. You start, and we do have some bigger names in this event. So it's trying to find value here, like we talked about last week, beating Cantlay with somebody that makes sense at the top. In this case, it's not Cantlay, but just beating the top favorites, if you will, Matsuyama, etc.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the odds on this, my first reaction was, this is terrible. But it's, you got to understand, it's seven. You're missing half the field. Like
Right.
your guys, that's why you're going to see Xander's 8-1, Sanjay's 9-1. So I thought there was an opportunity to maybe get a little aggressive. And this is kind of a blind tale of Viktor Hovland, who's not on people's minds. We really haven't seen him much. You know, he hasn't played the swing season events here. But I'm okay with it. I think that Viktor Hovland has shown certainly some of his greatest success on tour. You could say it was easy events, but they haven't been crazy, like long par 72s. The OHL, Puerto Rico, API, a WGC in Mexico. Obviously the guy's, you know, he's played at golf all over the world. I'm not worried about like travel or anything like that. And Hovland still has a tee to green game that I'm very confident in. You've mentioned around the green. That is the bugaboo with him. He's very weak in that area. But I'm willing in a non-cut at 20-1. Yeah. I've seen 20-1. I've seen 18-1. Anything in that area. You've got him. You've got Cam Young. I like those type of guys a little more than I like kind of Decky and Tom Kim in this spot. So I actually started my card with Hovland. Not what I thought I'd be doing, but I think he could be a sneaky upside type play. And I like the number on him this week.
Top 5 at the BMW as well, right? You mentioned a couple of other places where
that's what I'm saying. He's been playing, just not in these swing season events. And Hovland's just a great talent. We all know that.
I don't think Viktor Hovland shows up at an event like this just to be seen. And I think it's the same mentality for a guy in Cam Young, who I took. And there are two things that I was looking at. One, look, we talked about this. We've been talking about this with Maverick McNeely, but I think to a larger extent, it's just a matter of time. And there are going to be swing season events that, due to field or condition or just the way in which Cam Young has played, it's going to open up for him to win. It's going to, and especially for having a rough Thursday or Friday, to not worry about hovering with a cut, things like that, that pressure. This, I think, is a really good, with a set of circumstances, a really good event for Cam Young to actually get that victory. But the same thing with Viktor Hovland, where I don't think either one of these guys just show up. This is not, oh, it's swing season, let me, stretch out a little bit, try a different shot here or two. These guys are coming out here in this particular event to win. And I think there is something behind that with guys, as you mentioned, who have been playing so well leading up to this. So I'm with you. I'm with Cam Young, Viktor Hovland. If you can shop and get Hovland at a better number, I think that's the clear cut. But both of these guys at 18-1 make total sense to me as well.
Yeah. And, I'm not saying I bet these guys because they stayed, but I do think it's a little telling that these were two names that for various reasons were thrown around with Liv. And they've decided to stay, and they definitely didn't stay so they could play the ZoZo. Let's be clear. But fair. At the same time, they are on the tour, and Cam Young is still hunting for that breakthrough. Hovland certainly has a little pedigree, but I think he's certainly hungry for more. And this is important. These are the type of fields. He's going to see some of these guys in much bigger tournaments in the future. I think their game translates. I think non-cut helps both of them because they can go crazy low and they may not start as fast. So if you're going to give me double the number on them versus guys like Sanjay and Xander, I have to go with that.
All right, let's move to the mid-range here and see where you're going. See how flexible or liberal you are with your choosing of the mid-range. If it's a tight or if it's like, 80 to 1 as a mid-range.
Nah, well, yeah, it gets all like, I can't wait till we get to our top 40, the like 3 guys that qualify
I know.
for plus money. I'm just going to stick with my man, Tommy Fleetwood. I mean, another guy, how close has he been over the years to finally getting one? He's here, had various stretches of really good golf, and certainly, looking just at his PGA Tour results, he finished on a tear. 4th at the Scottish, which again is a prep and it's in Europe, but then he was 4th at the Open and he popped up. He was 5th at the PGA. He was 7th at the ZoZo last year. I look to him and I think that, okay, this is a guy that has some things that I like with this event in particular. And he's seen the course. He's an iron player. He's played in Europe. These are the type of courses, not to lump in all the continents outside of North America, but I do think you see some conditions in other parts of the world, whether it's in Asia, South Africa, or Europe, that you get an advantage if you played a lot on the European tour. I truly believe that. And Fleetwood is a well-traveled, experienced player. He's 35 to 1 on DraftKings. I really like that number. I've seen mid-20s elsewhere. So Fleetwood is a guy in a non-cut. I still believe he's got big things ahead of him. I know maybe the multiple major wins didn't come to fruition, but Fleetwood's a damn good player, and that's a good number.
He's hung around in multiple different events, and you mentioned around the world, and if it's international play or just seeing where the tour takes you for conditions, and that goes a long way. And we've talked about a couple of guys on tour who have played a bunch of different events against different types, thick field, top heavy field, lighter field, different conditions, if it's wet, if it's dry, what have you. And Fleetwood, Max Homa is another guy that came to mind that played a lot of golf last year in a certain situation. But you're right here, Fleetwood in this field, I think that's a great find at 35 to 1. You have another one though?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have a couple more guys. To put the bow on Fleetwood, 35 to 1, Mito, Maverick, Keegan, same number. To me, Fleetwood stands above guys like that. Then my card starts to actually devolve, and I'm interested to see where you're going. Once I got past Fleetwood, I started going to specialists, guys that only do 1 or 2 things at a world-class level, but they don't have a full, well-rounded game. Bezenhout comes to mind. Bez is the type of guy, he's a short game specialist. He's not going to compete with these guys off the tee, but maybe that's what this course gives us. Maybe it's that type of player. So I'm going to start getting into skill set stacks. And I think a guy like Bez is worthy of that look. I don't love him at 35 to 1. If I was only picking one of them, it would be Fleetwood over him. But I do think you can start to say, okay, this guy's a driving specialist. This guy's a world-class putter around the green player. I'm going to hone in on that type of guy and take a shot.
So I'm not there quite yet. And this is more with like the Fleetwood mentality. My going long in top 40, I think, is going to approach that. So I know you're going to expand on that when we go long. Let me slide one name in here. I think based on what we saw in Vegas, if this upswing continues, we're getting Hogue at a really good price at 40 to 1, because especially in swing season with this field here, if this is a consistent outing of what we're going to get from him, he's probably closer to Fleetwood, 35 to 1. So I'm anticipating that what we saw in Vegas is not a one-time or just going to flame out, if you will. And this is trying to get him ahead of an upswing. So I was looking at him at 40 to 1.
Just a good player. Hollywood Hoagie, I played him a little bit last week at Shriners, and he was great. He was great. 9 strokes gained tee to green. He came in 4th. He's had everything inside the top 15 over his last 3 starts. That wraps around to the Tour Championship, so take that for what it's worth. But I like this guy. Another guy who, off winning some things, got into this event last year and was able to go and do some things at 17th. So didn't represent himself poorly at all in his first go around this track. And he's a great iron player. So do I think he's overmatched in some regards? Yeah, but anyone in the mid-range, when you look at the talent up top, you're going to have to, you're going to have to beat players that are simply better. And that's just what golf is about. Iron wise, he's as good as anyone in this field, though.
All right, let's keep it moving here and go to the going long range, long shots. You have two, I have one. Why don't you bang out your couple here?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think in 78-man non-cuts, just like WGCs, the winner of this event is coming from the top. I think you want to be very careful with these type of players, but I'm just going to throw out a couple names that have one major skill set. Obviously, when you think of major skill sets, Cam Champ is at the top of any list for me. He's an extreme bomber of the ball. I don't think that's going to work here, but if it happens to, he's shown he can win just by bombing it and putting. Literally 2 skills. Then you've got a guy like Bo Hostler, who's gained strokes putting in 8 straight events. I don't think that he's going to win at any point in a field like this. But if he gets electric on the greens, we've seen him pop up out of nowhere, and he has been playing. He made the cut last week, was nowhere when it was said and done, but we have seen him in short tracks in terms of par 70s. Less par 5s is a good thing for him. Wild north of 100 to 1, 150 to 1 type sprinkles.
You get the extra par 3. You mentioned that there's one par 3 that's as short as 140. None of them are longer than, I think, 190. So there's some scoring opportunities here for guys that really thrive off shorter holes, especially in the par 3. So when I saw you put up Bo on that, I was like, damn, because he definitely, you mentioned strokes gained there. Let me end here real quick with one. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to hone in on 2 key metrics, because I do think, like Corey Connors aside, right? Like you've got guys at the top here who can scramble, top scramblers. I do think scrambling can help. And I told you, driving, getting off the tee and being accurate off the tee. So I look at guys, I want to combine the 3: driving distance, driving accuracy, and scrambling. And your boy Patrick Rodgers pops up here, top 20, top 30 in all 3 of these. All of a sudden now, or top 42, pardon me, in scrambling, but all of a sudden now starts to pop up. 22 in driving distance, accuracy, and no, that's distance, sorry, and 42 in scrambling. So I'm just looking at a long shot who can do 2 things really well that I think can help him. So give me Patrick Rodgers as my going long at $140 to 1.
Listen, I've been betting Patrick Rodgers, as you know, and as our, to talk about, you alluded to our premium Discord before, and we'll talk about him in just a second. That was actually a play that I got to in that Discord, his top 40, and that was one we did cash, which was nice. 28th last week, and again, overmatched talent-wise, but Patrick Rodgers, he has some skills that can compete anytime he tees it up.
All right, so we're going to give you the 40, 20, 10, which is almost like an abbreviated because there aren't many guys there. There isn't a cut here for this, but Ben, you mentioned what happened. We're hitting a lot. You, of course, leading the charge here on our premium insider access, the insider group that we have here for you. A bunch of us, from Rasa to Sean Evans, giving out esports, to me, Lofty, Ehrenberg, Lindy, Gajeski. So you're getting plays, but you're also getting insight and access to us. Happy to have conversations. Earlier today, gave out an NBA preseason play, Ben. It was the Sixers +1. That line moved to +4. Our pal, friend of the show, friend of the channel, St. Stephen, asking, what's going on here? Moved to +4. Do you still like it? I'm not going to redo that video. I'm not going to put out a new, Chris Karen's head would explode if I asked him to do a new video. So we're not going to do that for you. Instead, you're just going to pop on here and say, hey, what do you think? Something moved, something changed. We do live bets all the time. And the beauty, as Ben will tell you, the first week is free.
That's true. And it's just fun. At the end of the day, going on a great run is always a blast. Everyone's happy. But we've had some rough days in there like any bettor would. And it's just more fun when we're all in it together, when we're all in there working through it. And then we right the ship and we're back to cashing tickets. And that's really what I've enjoyed most. Just a really fun community. If you're wondering what it's about, if you're saying, I kind of hear what you're saying, but I don't really get it, it's 100% free for the first week. Just come in, say hi, say what's up, hang out for the week, and then go your separate way if you're not into it. But I think you will. It's a really fun time.
All right, let's look at the 40, 20, 10. Again, no cut. So this is going to be really difficult to find guys who are even plus money. This is basically just about, give me a top 40 guy, Ben, that's going to be plus money or even money.
Yeah, I mean, there's only like 10 guys we can choose from. It's the bottom of the board. I'm going to go to my man, Takumi Kanaya. This is a high-end pedigree guy from Japan. We've seen him compete over here a little bit. Hasn't broke through just yet, but he's still only 24 years old. He's gotten some reps in Europe lately. I just liked him. I still, this is someone that I still think has a lot of good golf ahead of him. He's gotten some experience in majors. He hasn't been making the cuts, but he won't be intimidated. He's played with these guys before. There's no reason he can't get inside the top 40. And again, you're getting even money, which is about as good as you can get considering there's only 78 players.
Look, I'm with you on that. 78 players, even money. I'm trying to find somebody who may not have a lot of tread, but has a lot of or some familiarity here. Top 28 last year. I know it was shortened with the weather, et cetera, but I'm looking at a young phenom out there in Japan, Kita Nakajima, at even money. And I think, again, the top 28 last year helps the familiarity here. And I think, again, top 40 at this event where you can start slow. Give me Nakajima even money.
There you have it. Again,
I wasn't expecting much from you on that. That's fine.
I'm not going to pretend that I know a lot about these guys. I know this. Clearly, there's some really good golf being played in Asia. We've seen a lot of South Koreans have success. Certainly, Decky's leading the charge in Japan. So these guys that we're not familiar with, we better get familiar with because more and more, these guys are really making a mark. It's very impressive.
Final card. It's going to be quick for you and me because, again, it's the ZoZo. We're just trying to get through this sucker.
Yeah, no, it's 78 people. Like I said, for me, I actually don't like the mid range. So give me Hovland and Fleetwood towards the, the 20 to 40 range.
Yep.
And then give me some bombs, at the bottom of the card. You mentioned Patrick Rogers, Bo Hostler types. Not saying they're going to win the tournament, not for outrights, but just maybe in matchups, top 20s, top 40s, just little things that we can do to kind of, maybe get some extra units for future events, little things to stay on the positive side of this one. And if Fleetwood or Hovland win, boom, we're in business.
I love it. And on that mentality, I'm going to tail, and I'm going to put Cam Young out there, also the top 20, Hogue as well with the top 20. But I think you can stretch this and go both of our 40, 20, 10s. I'm going to ladder both here, especially top 20. I wouldn't be shocked if one of our guys hits top 20, just the familiarity and hanging around that type of course. So that's what I'll leave you. Kanaya and Nakajima, each 40 and 20. All right.
Again, there's only 78 golfers. Like, if you play decent golf, you're going to at least have a chance to climb into the first couple pages.
We appreciate you. We're here each and every Monday as Putting for Dough releases early in the week. So make sure you check back with us. Make sure you join our insider group. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button. You subscribe. You hit us up. Any questions you have here in the chat. We love it. Thanks to Chris. Thanks to you out there. Ben, we'll do it again next week.
Can't wait. Good luck, everyone. We'll talk to you guys then.